Hello there and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. We're just going to riff today. I was feeling this morning when I got up, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for a run. And initially I said, okay, let's just do 3 miles. It'll feel good. And then just before the mile mark, there's another route that I can go that is a 5-mile loop. And all of a sudden my legs were headed in that direction. And I was like, okay, I guess we're doing the 5-mile loop, even though no part of me wanted to. Actually, that's not true. Part of me did want to do a 5-mile loop, but other parts of me did not. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is how to get into alignment and go deeper on this mind, body, soul connection, because chances are you have heard it before. And so what does it mean for mind, body, and soul connection? Well, I always I can go super high level on things and have very deep dives into conversations, but I always like to bring it back to things that are tangible, things that can actually be implemented, because otherwise, I don't know. That's just how I operate. So when it comes to this mind, body, and soul connection, I equate it to the thinking, the feeling, and the doing. So it would be a mind, soul, body connection if you're going in that same order. But for whatever reason, people say mind, body, soul connection. But I like the thinking, feeling, and actions, right? So the thinking, obviously your mind. The feeling, that's actually your heart, that's your soul. That's where that stuff's going to come through. And then the body, obviously the doing part of things, right? Which is that same kind of secular thing of the be, do, have. We're going to touch on a bunch of things today. There might be some rabbit holes, so just hang tight, follow along, take notes if you want, or listen to this again if it is over your head the first time. Great. So why does this matter at all? Well, I like to equate it to if you, for whatever reason, this is the imagery that I have, right? And so if you were driving a chariot, right, with 3 horses, okay, your horses were named mind, body, and soul, and those 3 horses were unhinged, and they just went in whatever direction they wanted to, right? Eventually, the force of those horses would rip the chariot apart. You would no longer have a chariot. You'd get to 0 places, and those 3 horses would go off and do their own thing. Okay? However, when you can connect those 3 into what is known as alignment, you're actually going to get a lot farther, a lot faster, because those 3 horses are working together. They have the same goal, they're headed in the same direction, and you can get there much easily as opposed to all of them trying to go off and do their own thing, right? So when it comes to this, excuse me, when it comes to this, who is like the lead horse, right? Like who is in charge, who decides the direction? Your soul does. I've had several of these conversations recently, and I recently was reading a girlfriend's soul. She asked me to tap into it and see what was coming through. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll do this. It was actually really quite enjoyable. It was very fun. And I was spot on with what she was feeling. And then I also gave her some pointers, some tips, some things to use to move forward, right? But how do you connect to your soul? How do you really know what your soul wants? It's a great question. You actually have to spend time with yourself. Alone. Yeah. Yeah. I actually love to spend time with myself because I can have full conversations with myself. I've shared these stories before. They're really actually quite funny. I'm actually going to put this if I can do this easily. I'm going to put myself on Do Not Disturb so I don't get phone calls coming through. Because that might be... Oh, YouTube, I apologize for the little bit of a snafu in the filming of this, but we're going to keep going. I did want to put myself on Do Not Disturb so that I don't get phone calls coming through as we go through this. So, spending time with yourself is really, I believe, the best way to connect to your soul. If you're out in nature, even better, right? Because the truth is we are surrounded by constant distractions that can take us away from our inner knowing, our inner being, conversations with ourselves. And having those conversations with yourself is really vital to figure out where alignment is. And it's different for people. It's a different feeling for people. It's a different intuitive nudge, if you will, for people. For me, I feel it in like my stomach area, sacral area, if you're into the chakra things. But I feel it there, whether it's a yes or a no for me. And that is really my guidance system. That's how I operate. And so when it comes to following it, again, you've got to actually have those conversations with yourself. Because otherwise what happens is you end up chasing all of these external things to try to make you feel better. Where if you just sat down and had a conversation with yourself, you probably start to feel better without any of those external distractions. I don't know what's going on with my voice right now. We're going to keep going though, because this is good information coming through. I'm not going to let that ruin it. So connecting with your soul, spend time with yourself. One really great way to start doing this is to ask yourself what it is that you really want. What do you desire? And journal about it. And notice where that energy starts to build in your body. That's an opportunity for you to actually connect with yourself, to see where you feel your soul, right? I like to call it intuition as well. You'll see me use those interchangeably. But that's just the opportunity where you're actually connected to a higher power, God, the universe, Mother Earth, whichever you want to call it. And it gives you the opportunity to really just connect in and ground in and have those conversations. And I'll be honest with you, I spent time just avoiding myself. I didn't think there was going to be anything good to come through because I never said anything good to myself. Very negative, very you're not good enough kind of conversations. And I avoided myself for a long time. And then when I actually sat down and had a conversation with myself, a lot of the internal chaos, will you have it, was actually my inner child not being seen. And so I started to have conversations with my inner child. There's a poem, I don't remember the author of it, but it's this beautiful little poem where it talks about, right, like you at your current age is a combination of you at every other stage as well, right? So my inner 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, right? Going up they're all still a part of me. And sometimes you've got to tap into those different parts of you and have conversations with yourself. There's a really great book by Debbie Ford called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And she actually walks you through this exercise where you can meet your different parts of you. She uses emotions for it, but you can meet different parts of you and have conversations with them. I love that exercise because I find it very, very insightful. Because there are times that I need to talk to my inner 7-year-old or my inner teenager and be like, listen, I know you think you know all the things, but you don't. So let's just kind of roll with this one, okay? But then there's my highest self, right? Which, again, sometimes I refer to as my soul, my intuition, my highest self. She's like the grandma from Moana. Right? If you've ever seen that movie, if you haven't, go check it out, right? She's like the grandma from Moana who like knows all the things. And you're like, well, why don't you just tell me? And she's like, well, what do you want to know? Right? And she just asks really incredible questions. I love connecting to her. So she wants me to tell you right now that, like, she's not an old, feeble grandma. Like, she's like the spicy, salty grandma who's like still dancing. So that's where we're at today. So when it comes to this mind, body, soul connection, again, why does it matter? Well, it doesn't matter to everybody. To me, I want to max out on life, and so having that connection matters to me. I want to be around long enough to see my grandchildren and my great grandchildren and still be active and still be dancing and, you know, hooping and hollering and having a grand old time. And so having that connection, I know, is there for my longevity. Because I can tap into these different parts of me and say, hey, like, let's have a conversation. What does this look like? How does this feel? That's a big one that I tap into. How does it feel? Where does it feel? What am I making it mean? Right? So prime example. Last night, I was exhausted, real exhausted. And it wasn't until after I had lost my patience and was totally annoyed with everybody in my house, that I realized I overgave yesterday. And for me, overgiving is a sure battery drainer, right? Like, I have to have time to recharge, to just be with myself, to recharge. I knew that was going to happen. I did put this on Do Not Disturb because I didn't want a phone call coming through. It's all right. We're going to keep going. I'm a little annoyed by that, but I'm not going to let it knock me out. I don't know why it didn't disturb. Yeah, you're just getting a free range of thought process here. So welcome to my crazy. All right. So for that mind, body, soul connection, right? It doesn't really matter unless you want it to matter. And that's one thing that I found really interesting is, there's all these different personality tests, and there's the Myers-Briggs, and there's the human design, and there's the gene keys and the astrology, and there's all these different assessments essentially that you can do to find out more about yourself. What was that other one? There was another one that it was funny. The Enneagram, that's what it was. So there's all these different assessments that you can take to learn more about yourself. But really, I think the best way to learn more about yourself is to have a conversation with yourself, to journal through and legitimately talk yourself through these things. I think that's the best way. But nevertheless, I remember having someone was talking to me. She was apparently coaching people through these enneagrams. If you have no idea what it is, it's a bunch of numbers, and it identifies that your struggle, right? Like your strengths and weaknesses, whatever. And what's interesting is, I took so many of those assessments when I was in my Ph.D. program, because one of my professors was studying these different personality types and whatever it was demonstrating. I don't even remember what her research was, but I just knew I had to take a lot of them. And what I found is I can actually skew those assessments to whatever I'm feeling in the moment, which then gives you different results, right? And so I was trying to explain to this woman that, based off my mood, my Enneagram number was different, and she was not having it. She was so annoyed that I would even consider an Enneagram number being different than the main one that it is, right? I just kind of chuckled myself. I was like, this is interesting that she's like really digging her heels in and doesn't want to see a different perspective of this. So I just chuckled a little bit. But again, I find those things interesting, but I don't let them box me in. Because really the best way to learn about yourself is to have a conversation with yourself. And then once you have that conversation with yourself, you can start to choose things that are more in alignment. Again, alignment is your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions all moving towards the same thing. Okay? Now, for me, the biggest thing, I can't even say that's the biggest thing because now I'm like, no. One of the hurdles that I've had to overcome is the overthinking, right? I had to change a lot of the internal dialogue that was going on in my head because a lot of it was quite negative. Over silly things, right? And so I made the rule for myself that if I wouldn't say it to my children, I wasn't allowed to say it to myself. So I started to give myself a whole lot of grace. And so once my thoughts were working for me, now there are the occasional ones that pop in that are like, where the heck did that come from? Why is that here? And then the feeling. So then once I have the thought that I'm moving towards something, the goal, I check in with myself and I ask, how does this feel? Right? And I often do this when I share on social media because I don't like to post just for the sake of posting. And sometimes my mind is like, no, we have to post something. We've got to just get it out there, right? Partly the ego there. But then I check with myself and I go, okay, is this really what I want to share today? And because I spend so much time communicating with myself and my soul, I know what a yes and a no feels like. I've shared this on other episodes before. But a yes and a no feel very differently in my body. And so I can say, okay, you know what? No, this isn't the topic to share about today. Or yes, this is actually the topic to share about. And then the body does the doing, right? So it's the thoughts, the feelings, and the actions. And when they're all in alignment, that's where incredible things start to happen. Now, if you're just getting started with living in alignment, it might feel a little bit trickier because it's just not your normal. It's not what you're used to doing. And so your mind wants to just put things on autopilot. That's what it wants to do. It wants to conserve as much energy as possible and wants to put a whole bunch of things on autopilot. And so when you're just getting started with this, it can feel kind of tiring from time to time because you're changing, right? You're changing all of these different pathways, neural pathways in your brain, that it's going to take a little bit for you to actually, for it to start to feel easier. And it's not that it's hard, it's just different. It's like when you start any other new habit, it takes intentionality until it becomes automatic. And then you're like, oh, I don't even remember what life was like, not in alignment, kind of a thing, right? And then there will be times where you get knocked out of it. And you just got to bring yourself back, right? Like yesterday, I got knocked out of an alignment because I was overgiving and I got tired. And I didn't tune in with myself because there was so much to do with after school activities, and there was a lot yesterday, and I didn't give myself the space to tune in, and so I just spiraled, and I reached out to my coach and I was like, I'm spiraling, and we worked through it and it was fine. But it's great to have a coach for that, right? So when it comes to this mind, body, soul connection, again, if you don't think it matters, it's not going to matter to you. But if you're interested in it and you're like, you know what, I kind of want to tap into that, figure out what that means, because I do feel like I'm hitting my head against the wall, I would love to have a conversation with you. I will dive into deeper conversations about this as well, because I just love kind of riffing on these deeper topics. And so as much as I'd love to give you kind of the bridging the gap here between the spiritual and the physical and giving you those action steps, I also love to just do deep dives on these things. So it is what it is. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up here. This is a little bit longer than I normally go, but that's fine. YouTube, I apologize if this video is crappy. I was trying to make sure there weren't any calls that came through and one still snuck in. But that's life, and that's what we're going to roll with. It's not going to be well polished today, and whatever. It is what it is. The right people will find it, and that's all that really matters to me anyways. So I'm sending you so much love. I hope that you have an incredible rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you. Bye.